Everyday Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Thanks for staying tuned. On the second leg of Tuesday Live tonight, we shall be looking at tackling security challenges in Kogi State. Kogi State is endowed with rich human and natural resources that will shape the fortunes of the state. It's a state that is a tourist delight with various sites that include the confluence of River Niger and River Benue. More also its investment potentials that attracted the dredging of the river to expand opportunities. The state was at one time bedeviled with security challenges that include kidnappings, armed robbery, as criminal elements took advantage of the thick forest and potholes to attack innocent citizens. The development the state government is tackling head-on, and part of the effort is removal of vegetation that obscure visibility of the roads and blocking other loopholes. Perhaps this informs the rating of Kogi State as the second most peaceful state by the 2018 report on Nigeria Peace, a development many say will translate to more meaningful gains. Let's hear this background report put together by Abdusalam Jibril.
Roads make a crucial contribution to economic development and growth and bring important social benefits. It is for this reason that Kogi State is blazing the trail by embarking on Safer Roads projects for the people of Kogi. Over the years, the state of roads in Kogi State has been in a dilapidated state. Even the federal roads on the fringes of the state does not fare any better. It has been hellish for motorists and passengers traveling along Lokoja-Okene-Lagos-Abuja Expressway connecting the southwest. Lokoja-Obajana Kaba Ilorin Road in Kwara State and Ajaokuta-Itobe Road connecting the southeast are equally deplorable. Motorists are stranded randomly in Okene and its environs following gridlocks occasioned by impassable roads. Some of the failed portions have also become hideouts for kidnappers, armed robbers, and other criminals who ambush and take unsuspecting motorists hostage. In an apparent response to this, in March 2017, Governor Yahaya Bello commissioned a road vegetation clearing project. The scope of work on the project was to cover several localities and involve the clearing of bushes for security, agricultural purposes, and canalization. This was intended to remove vegetation that obscure visibility on the roads, which had served as hiding areas for hoodlums. So far, Ganaja to Ajaokuta, Okene to Ajaokuta, Okene to Okwela, Itobe to Ayangba, and others have all been made safe.
The governor is really doing a wonderful project. I am of the view that other governors, the share boundary with Kogi State, should emulate this kind of security challenges, try to clear the road, try to clear the hideout from kidnappers so that they cannot easily have access to the high road.
I'm short of words to express my own joy and happiness about this job, because it seems that it was only done for myself and my people alone, and which I believe is done for every one of us. In fact, it's the best program I've ever seen in this present governor of Kogi State, being led by His Excellency Yahaya Adeza Bello. In fact, it's a welcome development.
Already, residents and road users along these areas are feeling the immediate impact of this road project, as many have testified that the spate of accidents and incidences of kidnappings and armed banditry has greatly reduced on these roads.
I am from a Elete community. We are very happy from our community for what government is doing now, is clearing the road. Before we are having armed robbers and kidnappers. So since government started doing this work, we are with peace now. Even with the farmers now, we can farm with the rest of mind. We have no problem.
I farm along this road and I stay along this road. And we thank His Excellency for the assistance, what is the assistance is doing now by clearing almost about 500 meters to the main road. That this thing will reduce those kidnappers and robbery along Obajano, Agbede, Oduape Road to Kaba Road. We thank His Excellency for the great job that he's doing.
A drive through places would ascertain that, indeed, there is no longer dense vegetation providing safe havens for criminal elements, and motorists and road users now have a clear view of the roads. Kogi State, it seems, has risen from the dark ashes and is moving in a new direction under Governor Bello.
Tackling security challenges in Kogi State, the second leg on Tuesday Live tonight, and the conversation continues. You can be part of it when the lines are open and concerns, and also you can also be on our Twitter handle at Tuesday Live NTA tonight. I'm being joined in the studio by Dio Williams. Dio Williams is a public affairs commentator. Thanks for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
And also Comrade Ben Abdul. Comrade Ben Abdul is a security expert and public affairs commentator.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, welcome.
Yeah.
What would have been the motivating factor behind this project?
About giving the people security. The first responsibility of any government, so to say, at any level, is the welfare and the security of the people. And I think prior to this interventionist program of the government, this issue of clearing thick vegetation and the rest, we used to know Kogi to be a kind of den for criminals of all sorts, of all persuasions, kidnappers, armed robbers. There was even a time some religious extremists were almost, taking over, and the governor needed to restore peace, at least for any meaningful project, for any meaningful development or, growth to take place. So I think to a large extent, as affirmed and attested to by that Nigeria Peace Index award I was given to the governor, I think that was in 2018 that ranked Kogi State to be the second safest place in the country. To whatever any sentiment anybody may have, the truth of the matter is that if you do a comparative analysis between when it took over government and what it is now, the truth of the matter is that relative peace has, been restored as far as Kogi State is concerned, except for recently because of the tense atmosphere that is, you all know how elections are conducted in Nigeria, that when it is election time, even if there's no crisis, any little thing that happens, people tend to exaggerate that. So to a large extent, I think, recently I was traveling through this Obajalo Kaba Road. I had to go through a very thick forest like that, but I saw the pathways on the road. If anything is coming ahead, about 500 meters, it's there. It's obvious. This is evidence-based. It's not as if anybody is, making it out. And once you can see it, you know that, there's every possibility that something danger is happening, and you know what to do immediately, at least, instead of just running into it. So
okay. It is said that the pictures don't tell lies,
of course,
and from what we saw, if going by what one of the respondents said, that other states should follow suit. If this happens, what do you think will be the multiplier effect?
Definitely. The country is becoming safer by so day. I think Ondo State is actually doing something close to that. This Ondo North axis of the state, which is contiguous to Kogi per se, that Akoko axis, they've been trying to do all sort of clearing of thick vegetation, and I think another road construction is actually going on within those axes, and it means that you have to remove the vegetation first before you even do any road expansion or dualization or whatever project you are going to embark on. So the thing is having a kind of multiplier effect, just like the one in Edo too. If there is relative peace in Edo, it's going to impact on that of the adjoining state like Ondo, like Edo. Recently, I think there was a judge who was kidnapped along that below Ondo axis. And there was this issue of misunderstanding between the Ondo State Police Command and that of who should be in charge of the judge who was actually kidnapped. I think he was kidnapped along that expressway, this vegetation of a thing. And we are talking about potholes on the road. Before he knew it, he was hijacked, taken away. Thank God he's been released, okay. At least.
A lot of Kogi State indigenes will be saying, what is the business of the state governor or the state government on clearing federal roads when there are litany of roads he should construct? Besides what he's doing on federal roads, what's your assessment of state roads? and also securing the state roads the way he's doing the federal roads?
In that aspect, the governor has been relatively progressive because before coming to power, like Dio Williams rightly mentioned, Kogi State was a hotbed for different forms of religious extremism. It was characterized by violence and youth unrestfulness. But since the governor came in, he has focused his area on priority areas. And these are areas that used to be flashpoints for violence in the state. For example, Ayingba, talk of Ejule, talk about Ankpa Township Road, and so on. The state has narrowed the searchlight to those critical areas of the state. And by so doing, they have been able to arrest these criminalities and hoodlums activities over that area. And secondly, you talk about this is a federal road. Why need the state intervene in something that is federal in character? Well, the reality remains that the people residing there are Kogites. And like I said, the constitutional function of any sane government in the world is the protection of life and property first. If you must attract investment to the state, the lives and properties of the indigents of the state must be protected to give the investors some semblance of confidence to even come and invest in such a state. So by so doing, the multiplier effect is this. It's creating a conducive environment because every investor comes first with one priority, is security before its investment. And once his life is secured, he's rest assured that his investment is secured.
Okay, the focus once again is tackling security challenges in Kogi State. You can join the conversation by going on our Twitter handle at Tuesday Live NTA and also putting your calls through to the program with the number that will be displayed on the screen shortly. Now, moving on, what will you say given the current campaigns in the state? Sitting government, APC, and other political parties in the state, will you say they have a level playing field?
Yeah, that's what we are calling for.
Because normally when campaigns are on, during time that you have tensions everywhere.
Everywhere, of course.
Is that the picture currently?
The atmosphere is charged. Of course, it's the picture. That's the truth. It's evidence-based. As I said earlier, the same thing is playing out in Bayelsa. We all know how we run our elections in Nigeria. Once election is approaching like this, you tension everywhere. The opposition, the ruling party is trying to intimidate. The opposition are crying for where even none exist. That is the current situation of things. And in that wise, we'll be calling on all the security agencies in the country to make sure that nothing actually happens, because election can only be peacefully conducted when the environment is secured. And the IG of police has been reassuring Nigerians that Kogi is going to be safe for voters to go out there and cast ditto for Bayelsa, because the election is going to happen simultaneously.
You're probably the first commentator now. Yaya Bello is the sitting governor,
sure,
and he still has the role as the chief security officer of that state,
of course,
as much as he's the standard bearer of APC for the governorship election. Now, if somebody confronts you and says he has reneged on the responsibility as the chief security officer because he contested the election, will it be right?
To a large extent, I would say the person is wrong. Because the first responsibility of the governor, like you rightly mentioned, is to ensure that there is security in the state. Of course, he cannot do it alone now that election is, and he is a participant. Not even a participant, a major contender, one of the contenders. He is going to do that in collaboration with all security agencies. Of course, the opposition is going to accuse him of trying to intimidate them using security and all that. That one is always there. It has always been with us. It's normal. If I were to be in the opposition, I would say the same thing, at least to attract some, element of sympathy from voters and perhaps outsiders and, satellite competitors, as the case may be. So that one is actually playing out. But be that as it may, it is still incumbent on the IG, the military agencies, the paramilitary and other sister security agencies to ensure that Kogi is made safe, because without security, without relative peace, so to say, because there's no absolute peace anywhere, even in Western countries, voters will be intimidated. There could be voter apathy. That is why they have to scale down the level of violence, the intimidation, and the all sort of shenanigans going out there now. They have to do that so that it will give the voters confidence to come out on the day of election and cast their votes from whoever they like, because that is a democratic choice and nobody should be denied that on the basis of insecurity. And that is why we are calling on the IG and other security agencies to ensure that Bayelsa and Kogi are made safe for our people to cast their votes, because life continues after the election on November 16.
Abdul, I imagine if the state governor did not embark on this initiative of clearing the vegetation along the major roads, federal highways, what the picture would have been?
It would have been the situation, what we have in the Abuja-Kaduna Expressway, it would have been a replica of what we have there, because at first it started showing its ugly head when the governor first assumed office. The trend started showing its ugly head, but because of his will and political determination to get through it, because most importantly, and one factor we keep neglecting, is the geographic strategy, the geographic relevance of Kogi State. Kogi State is the bridge that connects the north to the south. And that was the linchpin of the government's argument in the first place, that if we must get it right, we must start first by clearing this bush, because at the end of the day, the security men cannot be everywhere at the same time. But we'll create an environment in which surveillance and security monitoring and basic security activities can go on within that geographic area.
You can join the conversation, and our focus on the second leg of Tuesday Live tonight is tackling security challenges in Kogi State. The lines are open. You can put your calls through. A couple of tweets have started coming in. Our Twitter handle is at Tuesday Live NTA. The first is coming from the Oluwatayo, at Oluwatayo. He says, Kogi State is tackling insecurity that they are creating for themselves. With all this do or die affair. Can you react?
Yeah, it's the politicians. Actually, everybody is accusing the other person of, trying to create tension in the state just to make sure that the election comes their way at all costs. We have always had this do or die mentality as far as the Nigerian political terrain is concerned, and it's not actually peculiar to Kogi State election. The thing is actually playing out in Bayelsa too. But then, it's still incumbent on the governor to assure the citizens and the voters in Kogi that this election will be conducted in a conducive environment and that there will be no crisis and violence. He needs to constantly tell the people as leader, even if he's a Kogi contender in this election, he's still holding the office of the governor. So he needs to keep reassuring the people that I will do the best I can, like I've been doing, like this issue of clearing thick vegetation. Thankfully, like some persons in the opposition may actually accuse the governor, or those who are not even within the political ecosystem in Kogi, that why is he clearing the vegetation now? He started it long in 2017, where he never even knew he was going to stand the election in 2019 or thereabout. So it's like that issue of security is paramount to him. Recently there was this issue of crashes in Ibadan University community that some young boys were killing themselves over these court-related issues. A lot of people outside the state didn't know that it was a court-related crisis and not actually a political. But they had to send a signal to the governor. He needed to react to this immediately so that the outside world, people who are not familiar with what is happening, will not get the wrong signal that they are trying to create tension to scare away voters. Because whether we like it or not, whatever votes, whoever becomes the governor on after November 16, will have to, take a large chunk of votes from the people, the majority of the people. Where there's voter apathy, by the time you do the analysis of the whole voting process, you will discover that only very few people actually cast their votes, thereby, trying to shrink the democratic space. So it's still the responsibility of the government to assure the people that, I will do my best to ensure that there is security, there is relative peace, so that you people can come out and vote.
Yeah, in addition to what you say, I think body language is very important in politics, and the governor body language has shown that regardless of the fact that I'm a person
You
of
conclude
interest,
just a minute.
Yeah.
Let's take this first caller on this segment from Owerri, Imo State, Jude Ugbaja. Hello, Jude Ugbaja. You're on to Tuesday Live tonight. Hello?
Good evening, our guests in the studio.
Yeah, good evening.
Once more, my name is Chief Jude Obaja. I call from Imo State. Yes, security, they say, is everybody's business. It is in this regard that I make bold to enjoin Kogi people to be on the alert and report anybody or group and even security threatening elements to the security agents like the police. While the letter is enjoined to provide security numbers and websites that people can use in contacting them in case of any outbreak of violence or security threatening activities. I equally enjoin the government to declare a state of emergency on insecurity in Kogi State to actually reduce it to the barest minimum, especially now that the governorship election and the Unitide are fast approaching. I enjoin the young, dynamic, and ebullient governor of Kogi State as the chief security officer of the state to synergize effectively with the various security agencies in Kogi State and reach out to his brother governors in the neighboring states to be proactive enough and force criminal elements that may hide in the area to unleash mayhem to the lives and property of innocent Kogi people. Thank you very much and God bless you.
Thank you, Jude. And quickly, we have a couple of tweets here that have come in. The one I missed the first time is coming from Lawal Alpha 123. It says Kogi State is going to be on the hot seat this weekend. How have the security agencies prepared? Also taking into consideration the depth of political opposition. The next one is coming from Honorable. It says, election is not a do or die affair. I want to urge the politicians and the electorate to conduct a peaceful election. Why do we always see deployment of many policemen whenever election is to be conducted? I wish them free, fair and credible elections. Honorable Abu Jaga. I leave that to the two of you.
Okay.
Can you react?
Addressing the first question of the crisis as in the suspicion
Yeah,
that
go ahead.
Kogi State is. Firstly, I wanted to say the governor, regardless of the fact that he's a political actor, he has shown some relative commitment towards securing life and property in the state. 2 weeks ago, I remember the governor was somewhere in Okene to commission the army operation Akbagma. The governor was there and he was in the military guys in the field there. I remember he even had evening prayers with them. At least those body language speaks volume of the fact that this administration of Yablo is making some effort towards relative peace and stability in the state. As far as election is concerned, I believe there have been interface between the relevant security agencies more than once or twice with just last week, the major stakeholders were forced to sign a peace accord. That means pledging to have a peace, swift and fair election for Kogi. And just yesterday or this morning, the IG of police was in Kogi State to interface with the relevant stakeholders in that state. To some extent, and to a larger extent rather, all this body language by the prominent actors in the politics of the state as the state approach the election, for me, they send a very important signal, a security signal that all hands are on deck, regardless of the differences, the political interest, that all hands are on deck to make sure that after the election there is a Kogi State that everybody can live in peace and harmony.
Okay, let's react to the next tweet coming from Paul Ulubi. How feasible is it for Kogi to be safe and other neighboring states are unsafe? Is there concrete understanding between Kogi and other states? Investors would need other states to access Kogi. What is the assurance of safety for those investors who may want to use the road?
That's the responsibility of the governors to have a kind of collaboration in terms of fighting crime and combating all sort of insurgencies and armed banditry along that side. Recently, I think you take the example of the Southwest governors. I think earlier this year they had a meeting in Ibadan and some subsequent set of meetings about having to form a kind of regional police that will help them tackle cases of armed robbery, banditry, and all sort of violent crimes in that axis. And I think that's a sort of a kind of booster towards, having to restore peace, security in the states that make up the entire Southwest. And I think they are doing this regardless of the differences in the political persuasions of the governor. Some PDP, some APC. Because after all, aside our political affiliations and the rest, the people, the epicenter of whatever we do, governance. And if there is no security, which is not peculiar to the PDP, the SDP, or the APC alone, definitely there cannot be any investor coming to a place that is not safe. That is the first index an investor will be looking for. Like what the person said, the question he asked, there will be need for those states that have a sort of, alliance, geographical alliance with Kogi State Governor to meet him and have a kind of...
What if they allow political affiliation or political loyalty to dominate and they refuse to work together?
That is where the issue is.
Do you think that was that?
The political class need to rise above these, political sentiments. He belongs to A, I belong to the liberal class. Security is everybody's responsibility, regardless of the political persuasion or the affiliation that person belongs. If there is no security, it's just like in the US. When you talk about security, the Republicans, the Democrats don't care. The most important thing is to get the crime fought and get the criminal out of the place. So if you are saying because it's in APC, I'm in PDP or in SDP, I'm not going to collaborate with him to ensure that our region is safe, who are you doing? You are doing the people. And you are the chief security officer of your state. You collect monthly allocation of security votes and you are not securing your people. I think without being caught, I simply caution you. The issue is this: you are going to leave that government house one day and be accountable to whoever you believe in providence. That one is there. So they need to come together and form a sort of synergy, a sort of collaboration, and say, okay, this is the sort of template we are going to put on board, like that of Edo, Kaduna, Ondo State, and perhaps Benue, and even some states in the eastern part of the country, especially Enugu. There's need for them to come together and say, okay, let us make this confluence region safe for investors, especially you think of the mineral resources beneath the earth of these places. If the place is safe, then definitely investors, those who have the money will say, okay, yes, the first thing is settled. Let me go and see this place, whether I can actually put my money down there, because nobody wants to invest in an environment that is volatile.
Well, when you talk about security, he has not talked about the fact that it is everybody's business.
Yeah, it's everybody's responsibility.
How prepared, by your assessment, are the people of Kogi State to assist, to galvanize with security agencies to make it thick and workable within this time?
On the eve of an election, like he rightly mentioned the other time, conspiracy and counter-conspiracy theory. And in those kind of environment, it is very hard, difficult for you to have a coherent security approach. And that is the problem Kogi State is facing now. But the recent interface between the relevant stakeholders, the two major candidates, the APC and the PDP candidate, and the security agents, I believe it will go a long way to ensuring peace. But on the part of the people, it still beckons on them on one single fact and empirical truth, that whether we like it or not, the politicians will come and go, but Kogi State remains here, and we are the indigenes of Kogi State to stay forever. Let me give you one example of citizen intervention in security. Last 2 months, around Abaji Road, there was an attempted case of armed robbery. It took the gallantry of the inhabitants of those places to come out and say, no, we don't want this kind of thing in our environment here. They mobilized themselves and chased away those criminals. This speaks volume of the inevitability of collaborative efforts between the citizens and the government.
Okay, Kogi is not a landlocked state. And we have all centered around the issue of clearing of thick bushes along the highway. What about the waterways? Are the waterways taken care of? Because knowing fully well that, I've driven crisscross Kogi, but I'm very conversant with Lokoja, the state capital. Yeah. I know in some stretches you are driving to the river. Yeah. What about that end? Any thoughts from there?
I think the governor is going to do something in that direction, because like you rightly mentioned, aside the land, the water too has to be secured, because the criminals as well can, after committing a crime and they find that the land is not safe for their passage, they can as well dive into the river and move. Then it means that, thank God, they have a naval base somewhere in Lokoja axis or thereabout that can as well complement the efforts. Because I want to believe that to a large extent, the governor has been interfacing with all these military and paramilitary agencies to the extent that several times where they have functions and the rest, they do invite him. Even as far as the chief of army staff is concerned, I believe that if he's not been supporting them, they will not have that kind of rapport, that sort of convivial friendship with them. And I believe that thing is still being extended to the naval, base in that part of Kogi State, because the issue of, securing the waterways is exclusive responsibility of the naval officers or the navy, so to say. In this case, the highest the governor can go is to ensure that he supports them as the chief security officer of the state in whatever capacity they need his assistance.
Okay, let's take a look at, with all this, what's your assessment of the issue of kidnapping banditry currently in Kogi State?
I think
has
it has been reduced to its barest minima since the inception.
What's your proof?
Of the fact that for the past 2 years now, there have not been any known incidents of kidnapping or armed robbery in Kogi State. I schooled in Kogi State when I was there, and to some extent, from my school gate to the whole entire environment in Adankolo there, the government fixed street lights everywhere. A solar-powered street light.
Are they working?
They are working perfectly, and any student at schools in Federal University in Lokoja can vouch on that behalf. In the area of, like I said, kidnapping and all sorts of criminality, before Kogi State was armed robbery. On broad daylight, people come to bank, break banks, steal a lot of money and go. But today, since the governor came, there have not been any single issue of bank armed robbery again. No bank has been harassed. The bankers, before now, bankers closed 2 o'clock. The banks were shut in Kogi State. But now the bank operates at 4, sometimes 5 before they leave the environment. It speaks volume of the contribution and the political will of the governor to tackle that challenge.
Okay, let's spread a bit.
Yeah.
Given the achievements from what you have told me in Kogi State regarding security, what's your assessment of security nationally?
Without being, biased, of course, every man is a product of bias, one way or the other, some sort of contradictions, and yes, we all know that there is the spate of insecurity in the country is really very high. That is the truth. And we are not trying to demarcate the government. It has always been there. Yes.
But do you think they are doing enough to tackle it?
I think we cannot say the government is doing enough. The government needs to do more. Even if what they are doing is now generating positive responses in terms of feedback and the rest, like the rural banditry in Savara, Katsina, the farmer harder clashes and all the rest. At least for the past few months, they have reduced significantly. But the kidnappers are still on the prowl. They are everywhere. Violent criminals and the rest. So government at all levels needs to step up and make sure the country is made safe for the people. Because beyond political coloration, I keep saying it, the job of securing the country is everybody's responsibility, although we know that government takes a larger chunk of that responsibility. The responsibility in this way is a three-way thing: the individual, the society, and the government. The highest the individual can do is about intelligence sharing, being alert civically as your responsibility. If you notice there is a criminal tendency in your neighborhood, the responsibility is to share the information with any security agency you have around. That way you have been civically responsible as a citizen who wants peace, who wants security. When you know that a criminal is lurking somewhere and you withhold that information, you are not doing yourself any good. You are not doing the government any good as well. Of course, you cannot fight crime as a criminal because you are not licensed to do that. It is the security agencies that will do that. Yours is to pass the information and activate them to ensure that they make that environment safe. That is the responsibility of that particular individual as a civically responsible person. Then the society. In this case, what is the society? The individual and the government. Like I mentioned earlier, the primary responsibility of any responsive and responsible government is to ensure the security of lives and property of the people. Even in the US, Americans will tell you their government is not doing enough in terms of homeland security. So it has to be constant. It has to be a constant thing. If we praise the government, that the government has secured the country, will be deceiving ourselves. That is the truth.
Okay, let's take this caller from Niger State, from Suleja. Sunday is calling in from Suleja, Niger State. Hello, Sunday. You're on to Tuesday Live.
Good evening.
Good evening, Sunday. Go ahead, please.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. You're welcome to the program.
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Hello, good evening.
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Hello, good evening.
Well, it looks we are losing it. Now, let's take a look at the youths. Elections, it's a countdown to elections in Kogi State. We took up with the initiative by the government to ensure that there's security in the state, clearing off the pathway that was a haven for kidnappers and banditry, all that. The youth element ahead of the elections, are they well conscientized on what the do's and don'ts are ahead of this day?
It's a
I'm happy to have you,
it's
practically youth sitting down
Sure.
here. So, what can you tell us?
for me, I think it's a continual process. I don't think enough has been done in that regard in terms of advocacy and sensitization of the youth, especially because most times what induces violence, especially among the youth, are issues like unemployment, issues like poverty and deprivation. As far as Kogi State is concerned, the signals are not all positive, but that is not to say a lot is not being done in that regard, because the other day I could remember Two-Face Idibia was in Kogi State to promote this idea of vote not fight, and so many advocacies on the grassroots level and so on have been going on. And to a large extent, I believe the youth, since we have a youthful government first in the Kogi State, and the youth, this is the government the youth can relate with, I believe to a large extent we'll have an election that is free and fair, especially isolated from youth violence.
So, let me ask, would you say so much has been deployed, mobilized for the elections? I repeat, it's a countdown already. Are the Kogites ready?
In Kogi?
Yeah,
of
the
course, Kogites are ready for the
How?
election. But then,
Convince us.
they are ready in the sense that they are willing and eager to cast their votes. In fact, those of them staying outside the state are willing to go back to make sure that their democratic right, is demonstrated on the day of the election. Be that as it may, it all comes back to this issue of security. The idea has been reassuring and other security agencies that they will make sure the state is made safe. Of course, if the signals coming from the state are negative, quite a handful of people who will not be interested in going home to cast their ballots because they may be scared that, okay, what if on the day of the election anything happens, how are we going to be saved? And I think policemen are being mobilized to go to, and we can never have enough because we never can tell what may trigger violence on the day of the election. Nobody can say exactly this is what is going to happen, or that is why they have to be proactive to ensure that if anything is going to happen, we will nip it in the bud before it happens. Because once it happens, definitely, it's going to generate a kind of chain reaction. You know how people behave, especially in this age of social media. If anything happens here, before you know it, it's the other way, and it triggers the other people at the other end. They mobilize themselves, they go into crime. Because all the political parties involved in this process, the major political parties involved in this election, want to win. What we are saying is that it should not be a do or die affair. Let the people go out and, exercise their democratic right, vote the people they want. It is the responsibility of the security agencies to ensure that the state is made safe for them.
Most times, you realize that you have a particular segment that has a lot of influence on the people. And we're talking about the natural rulers, traditional rulers, and faith-based organizations. And I know Kogi is a secular state, right? Now, what role do you think they should play ahead of these elections?
One is advocacy for peace. Preach peace. Peace is priceless. preach peace. There's no alternative to peace, and there have never been an alternative to peace. And I think the traditional rulers, to some extent, yesterday, a traditional ruler came out and said, anybody that perpetrates violence within his community, within this election, that the person will die. He has placed a cost on that person. And there are a lot of traditional rulers also towing that line. And a lot of churches, mosques, they preach peace and pray for Kogi State every day. I believe more needs to be done in that regard. More stakeholders from the grassroots to social media influencers. The narrative should be peace after election, because there is only one Kogi after election.
Okay, let's take Uzoma Okoye.
Official rulers are not actually beyond their bond of, ecclesiastical duties, but ensure they reach out to as much as they can a number of their people, and some of these civil society organizations too.
Okay, I'll get to civil society. Let's take this other tweet too from Ezekiel John. My concern is the security of lives. Please, what is the governor doing to ensure that there is no violence during and after the elections?
Honestly speaking, I would say that it's even beyond the governor now. Because whatever the governor does, as far as the election is concerned, is actually a major contender now. And he will be the center point of whatever conversations anybody may have. I would say the IG of police, because election is a civil issue, and police are the ones that are saddled with the responsibility of ensuring civil peace during the election. Their major concern should be how to make Kogi a level playing field for all the
But some are alleging that he's behind some of the skirmishes in the state. Is it true? I'm just thinking aloud.
In an election year and an election period, the whole environment there is heated. The politics is heated, and you don't expect such things not to come out from opposition. They want to sell a narrative, and the government too also wants to sell a narrative, and there's a clash of narrative because of the two competing narratives. Well, at the end of the day, like he rightly said, it's a collaborative effort. But the most important thing here is the security force should be seen by all parties and should act unbiased. Because once you have confidence that the police is there for the PDP and the APC that day, there will be no need for you to give a third party any arm to protect the ballot box that day.
Okay. Now, there are some unique states in Nigeria when it comes to elections. As much as I can remember, you have Kogi, you have Bayelsa, you have Anambra, you have Ondo,
Ekiti.
you have Ekiti, you have Osun,
Edo.
and Edo fine. And each time the states are about to go for their elections, mostly governorship elections, it's like a litmus test for INEC, a litmus test for the people.
Sure.
Now, let's look at the people now and just supposing it with the concerns of civil society in Kogi State currently. Civil society's concern is, let's see the conduct on Saturday. Voter apathy, voter behavior, talking about vote buying, all that, and security agencies, and indeed INEC itself. Now, imagine I'm looking at the two of you as a civil society. What would be your advocacy to the people ahead of this election? Let me start with that.
In the area of voter apathy, I could say it's strictly tied to the area of security. If people are not, they don't have the feeling that I'm coming out to vote and I'm leaving that polling booth alive, there is no basis for you to come and cast a vote when there is no security. Secondly, the area of advocacy, and I think the civil society must do more to beam the searchlight on an area that has to do with political behavior, that is vote buying. That vote buying has assumed different dimensions as different election comes. The politicians are changing their antics in relation to each election. And
do you support that?
I don't support it, and it's not supposed to be done in the democracy. But for me, I think the security agencies should up the game. The ICPC, the EFCC should up the game. It's not just beyond just standing beyond and just. We should let people be seen to be persecuted for vote buying. When it becomes an offense and people are jailed because of vote buying, it serves as a deterrent for others that want to buy. Because at the end of the day, the truth is all the parties will buy votes that day. And at the end of the day, they see with the biggest chest that comes out. But if the security agencies are there to make sure that in the first place, this act does not even occur, for me, it brings a sense of credibility to the whole poll, because vote buying has been one of the bane of Nigeria electoral system.
I feel that aside going to the election to Kogi or Bayelsa, as the case may be, on the election day for the basis of assessing how the election is going to be, civil society organizations really have to up their game in terms of, electoral.
When you say civil society, do you mean the briefcase civil society or the real civil society?
That is the issue we have. We can't even know the actual ones and the briefcase ones who are only concerned about what they are going to get from whatever agency or any multilateral institution that is going to sponsor them on the day of that election. I think before you even go for any voter assessment or vote assessment, as the case may be, they need to reach out to the voters. One, the issue of security, hammer it on the government and ensure that they secure the lives and property of the people, and make sure that before, during, and after elections, there is peace. Before then, they need to tell the people, you don't have to stay away from voting because you are denying yourself and generations some right if you stay away from voting because of lack of confidence in the government. Because there are a lot of people, aside this issue of security on the day of election, there are a lot of Nigerians, we get to talk to them, they say, after all, the government has not done anything for us in the past 15 years or 20 years. What exactly are they going to do? They don't need my votes. I talk to people all the time. You vote, I vote. It goes a long way. Forget it that I'm not going to vote. It's not going to influence the outcome of that election. I believe we are evolving electorally. I've been studying this thing over the years. We are actually evolving. There was a time it was ballot snatching, but you can't do that again because of this issue of PVC, electronic, permanent voters card of 18, that thing has to be authenticated through machine before you cast your vote. That is why the politicians, regardless of their political affiliations, have resorted to vote buying. They know they can no longer snatch. We have evolved beyond that ballot snatching again to vote buy. I believe over time, by the time we keep educating our people, the media, the civil society organizations and the rest, both the print and the electronic, keep educating the people that this issue of vote buying, the moment your vote is bought, your conscience is bought, and you have no moral right to criticize any government that fails to deliver because you have sold that your right, and you can no longer hold the government accountable any moment. So we have to keep educating the people. That is where this issue of civil society organizations comes in. It's not about going to look for a voter party or whatever. You have to start now. Even a year, 2 years before the election, you have to do this periodically all the time. Engage the political parties. Talk to them. Let them talk to the people. Who are the people that make these political parties? You and I. Of course, we may be,
Okay, let's now speak to the principal actors now. And when we say principal actors, we're talking about the politicians, the political parties, the key actors.
Sure.
Now, have they shown good example? If they are not showing good example, what should they do so that the electorate will see them as maybe exemplary?
I think for Kogi State, the critics have been, from all corners, have been inappropriate and suggesting, because at this period of election, politicians should be very careful with their utterances. To make a vague statement and it's misinterpreted, and in this age of fake news and it spreads like wildfire, and before you know, just one innocent statement according to you has generated violence situation. It burns on each politician to play a politics of decency. Decency first and foremost. At the end of the day, if you love Kogi State and you have Kogi State at the back of your mind, you will know that your ambition is not worth the blood of any Kogite. And how can we have this when we see election not just as a fatalistic contest? Election is not do or die. You win, you lose. That's how it has always been. And the politician needs to show that orientation publicly so that the common man will have that confidence that even if my man lose, he's not going to invoke us to the streets to perpetuate violence.
Okay, your thoughts before we go?
But I think it's exactly what he said is in order. We have to continue charging the political parties, the political actors and the leaders. They have to be fair, they have to be truthful and honest. The issue is this: they are desperate, and that is why they resort to all this sort of, The other day, one of the key political actors in Kogi had to show a road somewhere in Zimbabwe or one of these African countries, portraying it to be a road in Kogi before they fact-checked and knew that he was wrong, the thing had already gone wide. And people were saying, no, so this is in Kogi. At the end of the day, by the time they fact checked and realized, that could actually trigger people, that could actually, activate some criminal elements to pounce on that and cause crime or, disrupt violence or peace, rather, so to say, in that particular place. That's why sometimes when you are making a claim, let it be factual, let it be evidence-based, so that you can speak the truth and elicit the sympathy of the voters without necessarily lying.
Are you both from Kogi State?
I'm from Kogi State.
Okay, you're not from Kogi State.
Yeah, I'm not from Kogi,
okay,
but I
just
have
let me leave you. Let me ask him this question. Saturday is close by.
Sure.
Will you vote?
Yeah, definitely.
Will you show example?
Definitely.
Will you do exactly what you're saying on the day of election?
Definitely, because I have no option. Like I said earlier, there's no alternative to peace. And before you have peace, you must have mutual respect and understanding.
Sure.
And decorum matters a lot.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you.
Dio Williams, Public Affairs Commentator. It was good having you.
Thank you, sir.
And Comrade Ben Abdul, Security Expert and Public Affairs Commentator. It was nice having you on Tuesday Live.
It's a pleasure.
Well, today on Tuesday Live, we had two legs of the program. First leg, we looked at gains on youth employment and development with a focus on YESO. And on the second leg, we took a look at Kogi State tackling security challenges with our anchor taking off from the initiative by the state government on clearing thick bushes along the highways, which has more or less eased off tensions regarding banditry and kidnapping in that state. That's that on the program tonight. We thank all our callers and we thank all those who made inputs to our Twitter handles and indeed the entire team and crew. On behalf of all of us, thanks for being guests on the program. Bye-bye.